Hello there, fellow gamers. Today I want to share with you what I believe are the worst rare or mythic cards in Ravnica Allegiance. Now, I tried to pull this down to 5 cards, but I had a really hard time. There were just 2 that I felt like I need to mention, so I ended up covering 7 of them. Coming in at number 7 is Verity Circle. It's 2 colorless and a blue. It's an enchantment. So for an enchantment to be rare, they better do something really powerful. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared as an attacker, you may draw a card. But it has this activated ability that is 4 colorless and a blue. Tap target creature without flying. So in Limited in particular, now in Constructed this may mean something completely different. This card is literally unplayable. You will play a 3 mana enchantment that realistically will sit on the board and do absolutely nothing. So your turn 3 you did nothing. The chances they have a card that taps that isn't attacking is ridiculously low. There are some blue creatures though that can do that, like there's a 3/3 flyer that when it comes into play it can tap target creature and it doesn't untap in its controller's untap step. So you can pair this somewhat well, but that's a 5 mana 3/3 flyer. And there are some other tricks and combat effects that you can do, but across the board this is incredibly weak. And the 5 mana tap creature without flying, we're talking about super late game, tapping a creature and drawing a card for 5 mana. So you've spent your mana, you draw a card, and maybe you bought yourself a couple points of attack damage, or I don't know. That card just seems ridiculously bad for me. Do not play this card, and it gets way worse from here. Alright, coming in at number 6 is Smothering Tithe. This is a 3 colorless and a white enchantment. Again, for a rare enchantment, this better be something very powerful. And this reads, whenever an opponent draws a card, that player may pay 2 colorless. If the player doesn't, you create a colorless treasure artifact token with tap and sacrifice this artifact and add 1 mana of any color. And honestly, I've played against this card and it is just terribly bad. I never even cared about them getting that 1 extra mana. In Limited, you're typically dumping your hand, so the fact that they get that treasure token literally means nothing. Late game, they usually have enough mana that it doesn't even matter if they get that treasure token. But there is one green card that we're going to talk about in a little bit that pairs really well with this, except green and white really aren't a color combination in this set. And it is rare as well too, so it's pretty... This is just a pretty awful card. Don't pick it. Number 5 gets even worse. This is a single black mana Font of Agonies, another enchantment. Whenever you pay life, put that many blood counters on Font of Agony. So when I first looked at this, I'm like, you know, for a single black mana, where does this actually fall in the realm of how bad it is? And this card is literally unplayable because the ways to pay life in Ravnica Allegiance are basically nil. And so basically, I pay 2 life, and I would put 2 counters on here, and I would pay 2 life from the come into play lands that if I can choose to keep them untapped, but those are rare as well, so you're probably not going to have one of those in your deck, and you're definitely not going to have 2 of those, and the odds of you playing both of those in combination of this are pretty rare. But if you do manage to get 4 counters on Font of Agonies, you can pay 1 in a black and remove 4 counters from it and destroy target creature. So the upside is fantastic. The problem is it's unplayable to any realm of sealed or limited deck that I can think of. Coming in at number 4 is Rampage of the Clans, which is an instant spell that is 3 colorless and a green. Destroy all artifacts and enchantments. For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller creates a 3/3 green centaur creature token. And I'm not going to lie, I really did think about playing this in combination with that white enchantment we talked about, where you maybe generate a bunch of those artifact treasure tokens, and you just play this instant speed when an opponent attacks you, and you just make a bunch of 3/3 creatures. They're both rare. It's not going to happen, and honestly, it's just fun. It really is meaningless. This is an instant card. This is a card where you really would only play this in a deck where you built around it 100% to benefit yourself. Because most enchantments, look at the enchantments we've looked at already, giving them a 3/3 green centaur creature is actually going to be better than the enchantment itself. Number 3 is Awaken the Erstwhile. This is a sorcery that is 3 colorless and black. Each player discards all the cards in their hand, then creates that many 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. So in limited or sealed, you're typically dumping your hand. The one place that I could maybe see this used is in some of the crazy control decks that maybe have ways to draw a ton of cards, and they, instead of playing their lands, they stack them up for a while. But it's black, and it's double black, so ideally you're going to be playing it in like a Rakdos or Orzhov guild. You're not going to splash for it, and it also does the same for your opponent. It is really unplayable. I mean, I've tried to think of ways that it would be fun to play this card, but you play it and you discard your hand of like 6 cards and you make 6 2/2s. That's not necessarily going to win you the game. All right, down for the top 2, and these were really close, to be honest with you, but I had to look at them in a couple different ways. So the reason that my number 2 pick is what it is because it's a mythic rare. And when you open a card like this, typically you're super excited until you read what it actually does. And this is Kaya, Orzhov Usurper, which is 1 colorless, a white, and a black. Legendary Planeswalker. Of course, it's mythic. It comes in with 3 loyalty counters, and it costs 3 mana. So, I mean, honestly, when a player opens a pack and there's a Planeswalker as a new player, you get super excited. And you always want to play these cards, typically. But this one is incredibly bad. The +1 ability is you exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. You gain 2 life if at least 1 creature card was exiled that way. So if you play this on turn 3, there's going to be nothing in the graveyard. Maybe 1 card if you're lucky. If you play this late game, sure, you'll gain 2 life and you'll be at 4 loyalty counters, but you've not impacted the board at all. This is a horrible +1 ability. But let's see what the negative ability does. So you can exile target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 1 or less. So yes, you can get tokens. You can take the Orzhov tokens out of the sky. You can take the... Maybe we did make them discard their hand and make a bunch of 2/2 zombies. So we can get rid of one of them. No, that's not going to see play. The minus ability is horrible. But what about the ultimate? Maybe the ultimate is good? So Kaya, Orzhov Usurper deals damage to target player equal to the number of cards that player owns in exile, and you gain that much life. So maybe you've got 5 cards in exile. You play this card late. You plus it. You gain 2 life. You plus it again. You gain 2 life. And then you minus it, and there are 4 cards in exile, so you do 4 damage to them, and you gain 4 life. Total of 8 life. This literally doesn't affect the battlefield at all, and I honestly, I'm just disappointed in this one as a whole. If this one ends up making it even into constructed play, I would be surprised. I put it as my number 2 instead of farther down, even though the -1 ability may have rare cases where it can actually do something. The fact that it's a legendary Planeswalker, mythic rare, for 3 mana, this card should be way better than what it is. Anyway, my number 1 card, what I believe is the worst card for you to get in the rare or mythic rare slot in limited, so that would be sealed or draft, is Mirror March. And I've actually had people play this against me, so I'll tell you that story in a minute. And this is another enchantment. Notice a lot of the cards we have here are enchantments that are bad. 5 colorless and a red. So if you're playing an enchantment for 6 mana, it better do something amazing when it comes into play. Let's see if this one does. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, flip a coin until you lose a flip. For each flip you won, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Those tokens gain haste and exile them at the beginning of the next end step. Okay, so you pay 6 mana. It does nothing when you play it. So you have to combat you have to actually play a creature afterwards. You play this on turn 6, and then turn 7 you untap and you play a creature, and you have a 50% chance to get a token, and then you get another 50%er to get another token. The second that coin flip fails, you're out. And I have played against this. My opponent played it on turn 6, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna, and at first I looked at it, I'm like, what does that even, like, why would they play that? Do they've got like some sort of trick in mind? And anyway, they ended up the next turn playing 2 creatures. Both of them failed the flip on the first time. They literally got no tokens. And even if they would have, it would have impacted the game like 0. I would have easily been able to block them. They would have gained nothing from it. These are 7 incredibly bad rare or mythic cards that Ravnica Allegiance has brought us. I would love to know if you guys agree with me. And maybe there's one on here. Maybe there's one on here you don't agree with. Or maybe you think there should be another one added to the list. I'd love to hear that too. And I'd also be curious if you'd put them in the same order as myself. And anyway, guys, keep playing games and see you next time.